You're listening to WACW, Wilmore, Kentucky.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
My name is Matthew Barnes.
And I'm Ty Shad.
In baseball, there's a location known as the bullpen, where pitchers can warm up before they take the mound.
But it ends up being a place where guys just chew bubblegum, build brotherhood, and talk sports.
This show is our bullpen. Just two guys who love sports tackling the big topics.
So come join us. There's plenty of room in here. We'd love to have you along.
This is The Bullpen on WACW. What is up, everybody? This is The Bullpen, as we just said. We got another week, sports action to go over. It's kind of going to be a little different this week because, we talked about the Super Bowl last week, and now we are completely in the NFL offseason, and college football ended a decent bit ago. So it's going to be mostly basketball, but we have a little bit of NFL to talk real quick. But it's a basketball-heavy show, so we're going to have to kind of readjust to that. But it's never a bad thing because we love some basketball here in the bullpen.
Real quick, let me just say, man, I don't know if any of y'all out there were listening to that hour before, but that host was sharp, wasn't he?
Yeah, man, what a
You know what the word I would say when I listened to that host last hour? Humble. I really heard a lot of humility. He's the type of guy that's gonna he's gonna host a show and then he's not gonna tell anybody about it afterwards. He's just gonna let it happen. That's the type of host I heard.
Well, I mean, I think that's fair. I think that's what a lot of people heard, and I think that's what they hear now. No, but for real, guys, Tunes with Ty going to be happening Wednesdays at 8 p.m. I'm in a radio production class this semester. It's a requirement, so if you don't feel like you get enough of my voice on the bullpen.
Ty's a free agent. He decided to play for 2 teams this semester.
I got good news.
He bailed on us a little bit. He's 50-50 on his commitments now, so we're a little bit saddened by that. But we're also happy because now maybe he'll be a little bit of a better host because he has more experience.
That might be right. Who knows? Maybe I'll get a little better.
I'm just messing with you.
I don't know. The ratings were through the roof on the last one.
Yeah, man.
Just that past hour.
All that John Mayer and Alanis Morissette really did the trick.
Hey, I wish I could have played some of that, man. The library's a little shallow on the thing here. I don't think they touch Alanis Morissette too much, but, man, I could just sing it next time during one of the pauses.
That's a good strategy. So, all right, let's get into this stuff. We can't talk about Ty's music taste forever, so we're gonna do the good, bad, and ugly. Like we said last week, I'm really just gonna call it like a weekly breakdown now because we're gonna put whatever adjectives we want in front of these events because we don't want to limit ourselves to those three words to describe the week. So really, just 3 things we noticed that stuck out. Put whatever adjective in front of them that you want. So I'm going good, bad, and sad because I thought it rhymed. Thought it was kind of clever. That's gonna be mine.
Okay, before we get into it, Sam, over under. How many of Matthews relate to Louisville?
I'm going to say bad and sad are both about the Louisville-Duke game last night.
I'm going to say, honestly, like if I had to pick the over-under, it's only 3. I would feel safe betting at least 2.
Yes, I'm
and
going
I
to say
feel
2
inclined
is
to
the
say
over-under.
3, but I don't know. What could be good?
You're both wrong. Don't go to Vegas tonight, gentlemen. It's only 1. It's only 1.
Whoa.
Breaking news. So, I tried not to overdo it.
Who is this guy sitting in the studio with us right now? It's not Matthew Barnes.
Wait, actually, okay, it's like 1.5. One of them.
Oh, there it is.
There we go. There we
baby,
go.
we're winning big then.
One of them has kind of something to do with
Do they do halves
Louisville,
like that in Vegas? I don't know.
Okay, my good is like a half. Okay, so I don't think it really applies to Louisville, but it applies to something that came out of Louisville. So we'll kind of count it as like a half. So I'm gonna start with my good. And that's the breaking news today, the Baltimore Ravens, kind of like my NFL team just because they have Lamar Jackson, who played for Louisville. So this is why it's the half. But they dealt Joe Flacco to the Broncos. And Joe Flacco, was the Ravens quarterback for over a decade. And it's kind of like the marking of an end of an era. I mean, he won a Super Bowl with them.
Super Bowl MVP.
He had started he had started in the last 11 seasons for the Baltimore Ravens. Joe Flacco has started all but 3 games.
Yeah, so I mean, he's been reliable. He's been pretty consistent, but he's never really been great. The only time I'd call him like elite was really just during that playoff run they won the Super Bowl. That year, like the second half of that season, he was something special. But ever since that, and even before that,
stale.
Yeah, he's just been like a mid-tier quarterback. He's not what you'd call terrible, but he's not what you'd call anything sensational.
No,
He's
the
just,
Ravens were a mid-tier team. For
he's just
most of his
mediocre.
time anyway.
And he's getting old, and so he's been kind of depleting a little bit. And the Ravens have made it clear that this is Lamar Jackson's team now. They're rolling with him. He had a terrible postseason performance against the Chargers, but despite that postseason performance, Harbaugh came out after the game and was like, Lamar's still our guy. We still have faith in him. And it was really interesting to see how Joe Flacco would fit on a team where, Lamar's the starter. So, is Joe Flacco good enough to be a starter in the league? I think so. And so I think that the Ravens had enough respect for the guy to, at least give him a place where he could probably play. So he's playing for the Broncos now, where they also have Case Keenum on a max contract. And I really have no idea what John Elway with the Broncos is thinking of having two guys who neither are really all that good, but they're both have decent contracts to pay, and you don't even know which one's going to start. I'm assuming it's Flacco, because Keenum really was the definition of just sublime this whole season.
I bet they still draft a quarterback.
Yeah, maybe. I really don't know. But all the Ravens got back was a fourth-round pick. But considering the guy wasn't really going to play anyway, some fourth-rounders turn out to be really dang good players. So, it really depends on what the Ravens end up making out of that pick. But, they didn't really give Flacco to the Broncos for, like, a huge return. They pretty much just gave him to him for not much. And so, really, I think it's my good just because I'm a huge Lamar Jackson fan. And now it's just kind of proof that this is 100%. They're rolling with him. But I also think it's good for Joe Flacco, a guy I don't really have any problem with. I think he's a pretty class act and seems like a nice guy. And I think that you could tell he was kind of miserable over there sitting on the bench watching another guy take his job. So I think now he's going to a place where he might get some playing time. And I think that's good for him, to end out his career on a high note where he can actually see the field. So I think it's a win-win from both sides. I think the Ravens get to roll with their youngster, and the Broncos don't get much, but Joe Flacco at least gets to maybe see the field. So that's my good because I think it kind of is a win-win.
All right, mine, I kind of had this feeling today, like the Grinch in the animated movie whenever he gets that big, like, ear-to-ear smile with, like, all the curls in his cheeks. You know what I'm talking about, that big Grinch smile? Mm-hmm. I kind of had that earlier when the news of Antonio Brown requesting a trade came out. I believe that was a few days ago. And it was like an evil little grin, like, yes, it's finally happening. No more Le'Veon Bell. No more Antonio Brown. They're gone. They're not on the Steelers. Well, and I can't even say they're gone because they're both not officially, well, at least in Antonio's sake, he's not officially off the team. But, he's very unhappy there. And it just kind of feels like this just pile of heaping stink the Steelers are. No one really wants to be there anymore, and now it's just kind of, I feel like it's a bad taste. So as a Bengals fan, it's very, very pleasant and pleasing to see that happening because I despise the Steelers, and to see them go through a tough time like this where people don't want to be on their team, especially good players, it makes me happy.
You have too many nightmares involving Antonio Brown making clutch catches in the end of the game, don't you?
You're a fan of a bad team whenever things happening to another team get you excited, not things happening to your own team because your team can't beat them with those players.
I can't say anything. I've been like that with UK for most of my life. I'm finally bridging that gap a little bit to where I just am kind of neutral about it all. But used to be, if a UK player, anything happens to him, gets suspended, I'm just like, let's go. So, I can't really throw stones. So, I get it. Antonio
Steelers
Brown.
Suffering. Browns are going to win the division next year.
The Browns are going to win the division next year.
And they signed Kareem Hunt. That's worth mentioning.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's already drawn some controversy. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, great
right, Sam.
player, but.
So you're good.
My good. This may sound like a little bit of a shill, but I was watching this new football thing, the Alliance of American Football this weekend. And I was thoroughly entertained by it.
A lot of people are watching that, actually.
Yeah, so I'm going to make that my good this week. It's fun. It's football, and I love football. It's my favorite sport, so I get to watch more football. Also, I think it's good because we get to see guys who didn't quite make it in the NFL who are starting on these teams and have chances to maybe make it back to the NFL. It's like minor league baseball. You get to see guys who are like, or what's it, the Gatorade League? What's the NBA's thing called? The G League?
The G League.
G League.
They have the D League and the G League.
Yeah, the D League, the G League, minor league baseball, whatever. It's kind of like that. It has that feeling. It's fun. It's because it's football. But it's guys who are like, hey, maybe if they show up here, they could, get a job in the NFL. Guys that were really good college players. For example, Trent Richardson, Eddie Lacy are playing in this.
Yeah, they were great for a bit.
Listen to this. The AAF got a better rating than the Thunder and Rockets game that was on ABC the same night.
Indeed it did.
That's insane.
The main event game that night, which was San Antonio versus San Diego, did better than the NBA on
Houston
ABC
Rockets
game.
and Oklahoma City Thunder. Those are two playoff teams in the West.
Yeah.
And the San Antonio Commanders versus the San Diego Fleet did better than that.
That's crazy.
This is the power of football
and also,
in America.
there really wasn't a whole lot of marketing behind the AAF. Not really.
I had no clue it was
yeah.
happening until I flipped to it on TV, and I was like, what is this?
There wasn't really any advertisements. I was like, what the heck is this league? And then I had to do some Googling, and I'm like, holy crap, like I never even heard of this thing.
CBS made those broadcasts exactly like an NFL game, and I really think that's what drew people in because it didn't feel like a amateurish kind of cast aside thing. It felt like the real deal just by the production value.
Because they had the same graphics package. They brought out Andrew Cattleman, James Lofton, Ian Eagle, and Dan Fouts were doing the games. Those are guys who do the regular NFL games on CBS on Sundays at 1 o'clock. So CBS is really invested in this, and I think it's a really good thing to keep CBS competitive year-round, and because they don't have rights to NBA or MLB, so this keeps them more competitive. And hey, it's more football, and I'm always in favor of more football.
Always.
I saw this tweet. It was like, this is a theory that the league should go with, which I honestly would support this, but it's like the XFL, which is like Vince McMahon's football league.
That's supposed to come out 2020.
2020, yeah.
What they should do in the future is when that drops, have the winner, like the champion team of the XFL, play the winner of the AAF, and then whoever wins that game plays the worst team in the NFL. And then if the AAF or XFL team wins, they replace that team in the NFL.
So it's like English
gives them
soccer.
motivation. Yeah.
But hey, they'll play a Super Bowl against each other, and then they'll merge just like the NFL and the AFL. And so we'll have.
I don't see the XFL being like.
No.
I think that's just kind of like a publicity, like it's a fun little celebrity thing.
It's
the
a vanity
AAF felt
project.
Like, AAF felt like football, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a lot
and
of
guys who play in the
players
NFL.
that kind of fly a little bit under the radar. They're trying to make a name for themselves. Some of it's like older, like former players who just aren't in the league anymore. Some of them though are more just like players that are trying to get to the NFL, and they're kind of like flying under the radar. They're developing talents. And this is just kind of a way for them to get some experience on field, playing other guys that are developing talents and trying to prove themselves. It's like you're trying to make a name for yourself, so the guys are playing with a lot of passion, a lot of energy. And, the league got a lot of views, and I think a lot of it's because just like there was this huge hit that went viral that the refs didn't call, like a roughing the passer. If that same hit
Knocked his helmet off.
if that same hit happened in the NFL, Goodell would probably be like expelling that player. That dude wouldn't have a
banned
career
for life.
It was
Pete
a
Rose.
slobber knocker.
He wouldn't have a career. An NFL player wouldn't if he did the same hit.
That one video of that hit, it was in the in that San Diego San Antonio game. It within an hour had 21,000 retweets.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a huge thing. I retweeted on my Twitter account.
It was crazy.
But it's crazy. But as we're saying about the XFL, I just on a closing note there think that's just a vanity project from Vince McMahon and the World Wrestling Federation. So
yeah. I don't think that's going to be much. But the AAF, it gives people a taste of football. Whenever you kind of go through that post-NFL season slum where you're just kind of bored because there's no football and you're bummed out, this is kind of like a way to ease your tension and give you something to watch. So, I'll take it. Saturdays, or AAF, turn it on.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
Saturday night, 7:30 on CBS Sports Network.
Yeah. So, I rock with it. So, I'm going to move on to my bad. And, so this isn't really bad. I should have just labeled it as disappointing, but I went with bad because it rhymes with sad, and I just thought it was more clever to go good, bad, sad. This wasn't really bad. It was just, to me, it was a little disappointing. So, last year they changed the All-Star Game format in the NBA to where, there's a draft, where, there's two captains and they draft the team, almost like pickup style, something you'd see at the YMCA. I thought that was a brilliant idea. I was like, that's so cool. And last year they picked, but it wasn't aired for people to actually watch. So no one knew who went first. No one knew who went last. You hear who's on the rosters, but you didn't know how the storylines played out. But this year they said, you know what, we're going to televise this on TNT. We're going to make it a big deal. We're going to get the two captains, LeBron and Giannis, and we're going to have them pick live. Well, actually, it wasn't live. It happened earlier in the day, but they aired the draft. Well, I kind of figured it as like that all the players are all gathered together on a court. May have been a little immature of me. Maybe I thought maybe they were going to be at least all Skyped in or something. I thought there was going to be some kind of like a face-to-face thing, kind of like at the Y, where it's like you're literally looking at the guys you're picking. I thought that was going to play an impact. But when they aired this draft, there was a lot of jokes made. I think that LeBron and Giannis had a great dynamic, and they were funny. And, the draft was really well structured, and I thought it was overall pretty interesting. But I thought it was a little disappointing compared to what I was expecting, because I thought that there was going to be a lot more drama in the fact that you're literally like looking at a guy, or like the final two guys, and picking one and knowing that person's reaction to being picked last. I thought whoever gets picked first has this extra vote of confidence from their captain knowing they got picked first. I thought that if there's actually a face-to-face communication here, this would have been way more dramatic, way more entertaining. Because of the fact that there wasn't, I thought it was a little bit boring.
So you thought this was the rose ceremony on The Bachelor?
Kinda, yeah. I mean, and I'm not like Mr. Dramatic where everything has to be like all staged and dramatic. I'm not like that, but I don't know. I thought it would have made it a lot more entertaining. To me, it just kind of looked like two guys just taking turns picking players. That's really what it was, and that's fine, But it just, I don't know. I don't think it really had like the stakes that I thought it would. And even though I think TNT did a great job with the broadcasts, I thought it could have been a lot more.
Speaking of The Bachelor, man, everybody ought to watch that this upcoming Monday.
Oh
It
my
is gonna
gosh.
be
Yes, The Bachelor is a great show. I watch it regularly.
Oh my
It's gonna
gosh.
be
This is a sports.
spicy
This is a
episode.
sports talk show. We're not talking about rom-coms here.
Hey, we
Ty.
can get competitive about anything.
This
That
is
ain't a
not
rom-com.
this is not a comedy. This is a drama.
I don't know. I think if you
Watch
ever watch it,
yourself.
it's a little bit comedy. I don't know. It makes me laugh.
All right, I'm gonna shift gears from The Bachelor to a former Mississippi State defensive lineman, Jeffrey Simmons, draft prospect, probably going to go in the first round. That was all the
top 15
projection.
pick, yeah.
Tears his ACL during a pre-draft
Jeez.
workout, so that's really unfortunate for him, as well as teams in the draft who were vying for his services. As a senior at not a senior, but last season at Mississippi State, he had 63 total tackles, 18 for loss, and 2 sacks. We've seen scenarios like this in the NFL draft before, where a player who's injured still enters, who had first-round buzz but then got injured, and most recently as Jalen Smith, who is a linebacker on the Cowboys. Now, he fell to like the second round. I believe it was pick 34. The Cowboys got him, and he's been having a really tremendous year
Yeah, it was a
last season.
All-Pro last year, yeah.
I would imagine that we'll see something similar with Simmons. Not that I'm pretty sure he'll fall out of the first round, as he's not going to be able to play next season at all. But I would still say probably a second-round pick for this guy. A team that doesn't need his services immediately could be a very, very valuable pick.
Yeah, it's tough. Injuries are always tough. We gotta move on though, just because we're already running a little long on this segment. So, Sam, what's your bad?
Just to keep it short, my bad. The Los Angeles Lakers, man, they are bad.
Yeah, they're real bad.
They are
They got
bad.
beat by the Hawks.
They
the
got
other
beat
day.
by the Atlanta Hawks. They
My
got
Hawks,
humiliated
baby.
by the Atlanta Hawks. LeBron
How did you lose
James.
to the Hawks?
They are
LeBron
28.
had a triple-double, though.
Yeah, but
Don't matter.
Don't matter. Team still lost.
Can't
The-
stop Trae Young.
The Lakers are 28 and 29. This is the first time that after playing 20 or more games, a team with LeBron James on it has had a losing record since LeBron's rookie season on the 03 Cavs.
See, whenever
They are bad.
or whenever the Lakers beat the Celtics on that Rondo buzzer beater a little bit ago, maybe a week,
Yeah.
I thought in my head, this is the turning point. Like, there's no looking back now. People are saying they're not going to be able to make the playoffs. I was like, that is going to light a fire that is going to burn the rest of the way. And I've been a little disappointed by that claim
Yeah.
because
then
it
they
hasn't
got
happened at
It's not
all.
working
humiliated
out
by
for
the
you
Atlanta-
right now.
The Atlanta Hawks absolutely decimated them.
Well,
It
I mean,
was-
the Hawks, they're nobody's fool, man. You got Trae Young.
Oh my
John-
gosh!
good.
They got
Come
next.
on.
They got next.
Come on.
Wait, just wait till we get Zion or RJ.
no,
You're not- you're gonna get
Zion's
like a-
coming to us, man.
you're gonna-
He's coming to the land.
My Hawks will be returned to the glory soon.
Gosh dang!
What
no.
What glory? You guys haven't made the finals since like what 90? Since like the 90s.
I mean-
We've been 1 seed though.
Trae Young's not even your best player. John Collins is, and he's pretty good. But okay,
Don't-
we're not gonna get in a spiel about the Hawks. They're not very good.
TY
sorry.
and JC.
All right, Matt. Tell us you're sad.
So this is my token Louisville topic.
Here
I
it
always
is.
have to have one.
Be a funeral oration here.
Have you guys ever heard of Murphy's Law? Like, have you ever heard of what that is?
Yeah. Whatever
I heard about
can
it
go wrong
whenever
will go
you
wrong.
Yeah.
Tweeted it last night.
Yeah. So that was the thought process that went through my head last night in the final 10 minutes of this game between Louisville and Duke. So the first 30 minutes, I'm thinking this is the best night of my life. You know, I'm probably going to, like, stamp this date in my phone for like the rest of history because I was so giddy. I was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna smack Duke. But then, we were up by 23 with like 9.5 minutes to go, and I'm thinking, we could still lose. I know we can. Duke's capable, but it would take a lot to go wrong for us to lose this game. Then Murphy's Law kicked in. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. We did not do anything right in the last 9.5 minutes of the game. We got outscored 35-10 in 9 minutes. It was just embarrassing. I was humiliated. I felt for our guys, but at the same time, I was kind of mad at our guys because, we just fell to Florida State from the same exact thing. They full court press. They have long athletes. We have no idea how to beat a full court press. And we just turned the ball over and over. We had 23 turnovers against Florida State, and I'm thinking, we got to turn that around or we're going to get decimated by Duke. We didn't turn the ball over for the most part in that game for the first 32 minutes. Last 8, we looked like scared puppies out there. We were terrified. They started pressing. We turned the ball over every single play. We couldn't do anything right. And then they're coming down scoring, getting and ones and threes every single play. And I'm like, once they got it to 12, I hate to be this type of Louisville fan that has the ye of little faith, but I was literally like, yeah, we're going to lose. I knew it once they cut it from 23 to 12. I was like, I just know how Duke is. I know how Louisville is. I've seen this before way too many times as a Cards fan. I was like, we're going to blow this game, and it's going to be pathetic. It reminded me of I know how it feels to be an Atlanta Falcons fan now. I can sympathize with Atlanta Falcons fan. I feel like we were like
it'd
that.
have been different if it was in the national championship. You'd have probably been a wreck.
Yeah,
you
but
probably wouldn't show
so
up.
they may have had it a little worse, but this is still just embarrassing. It's sad for our guys. And if you look at the stats and the way the game broke down, we outplayed them for 3/4, and 1/4 can define a game. And we played the worst 1/4 of basketball that I've seen us play all season, and it's just heartbreaking, man. Like, this was a win that would have guaranteed you a tournament bid, and it would have guaranteed you probably like a top 3 seed or 4 seed, just about. You beat Duke, and you're automatically respected. And especially if you beat them in convincing fashion. So I'm thinking, man, if we end up winning by 20, who's going to not put us in the top 10? We're looking great, and we couldn't finish it out.
To be fair, the moment I knew it was over was when Zion passed it between his legs to, I think it was Barrett.
No, that was Reddish.
RJ passed it to
RJ passed
Yeah.
it to Reddish between his legs, looked like a football snap, and then he hit a 3 standing from the bench, basically.
Oh, it was a thing of beauty.
At that moment, I was just like, oh, this game's over.
Yeah, it's just.
I've been a skeptic on
I'm gonna
Duke,
try to
but
forget it. I'm gonna try to
skeptic
remove
no
it.
longer.
I'm gonna try to remove it from my mind.
Duke's
No,
for real.
to be honest, Duke is for real. I'm not denying that, and I raved about him last week, so I'm not gonna sound like a hypocrite here, or like I'm not changing my stance on him. But I think Louisville did expose a lot about Duke. They looked vulnerable as heck because when they're not hitting their threes, which they don't do that often, they can because they did against Virginia a couple days prior. But when they're not, and if you can get Zion in foul trouble, which is hard to do, but if you can, but Louisville did, they're not that good. They're still talented, obviously, but they're not the same when Zion's not on the court. So they have a lot of vulnerabilities. They're not nearly as complete as like Tennessee or Gonzaga, and so I think that
But they can will themselves out of a bad
Yeah, they can,
Yeah, they just have that much
but come in the
talent. They don't-
tournament, if you're down by 23 to a team that has a lot more talent than Louisville does, I'm not trying to bash our guys, but you get down by 23 to a Tennessee or Gonzaga, you cannot bank on the fact that you're going to have a hot streak like they did against Louisville. You cannot put yourself in that hole
obviously,
and
Obviously,
expect yourself
Tennessee,
to get
Gonzaga,
out.
no way.
So, if Duke ever has a game like that again, they're probably not going to get that same stroke of luck. So, I'm not saying they were lucky. I'm just saying a lot of things had to go their way for that to happen, and those things went their way. It was Murphy's Law. So, I think Duke has a lot of chinks in their armor right now that they have to clean up, or I'm not going to pick them as the championship.
Well, they have a
winners.
pretty easy game Saturday. They have Wake Forest, and they're going to kill them.
Yeah, but
Then they have North Carolina, so...
they still have to play UNC twice.
Yeah, they still play
All
UNC twice.
We got to move on.
But anyway.
My last thing I'm going to talk about is embarrassing, and it relates to the Kentucky game last night. Kentucky also lost kind of in controversial fashion. Apparently, officials cannot review an offensive or defensive goaltending call, and what ended up happening was LSU is tied 71-all, shot up a little buzzer off the iron, looked like it could have been offensive goaltending as it gets tipped in. Obviously, he tipped it within the time of the game, so there was no chance of that not counting. They just reviewed it, said it stood. So that's something that's not reviewable. And I think I say embarrassing because honestly, I can't like I kind of resent this about myself because I feel this way inside sometimes, but the Kentucky fans who always have something to complain about and like whine about something so much, it's almost putrid to me. So whenever things like that happen, I almost cannot go on social media afterwards just because of the reaction.
It's horrible.
It's awful. And I think, Sam, you may be a little guilty of this yourself, my friend, over there. You're saying it's horrible. I saw your Twitter feed last night, big dog.
I'm guilty. I'm not. I got a hold of myself, and I think I'm going to the game Saturday, so I haven't completely lost faith. I think Kentucky's still a good team. I mean, bad things are going to happen. You're not going to go perfect. I think hopefully Kentucky, this will light a fire under them. They'll go out and they'll give Tennessee a proper thrashing on Saturday. That's just my best hope.
That would make things better. But, yeah, I got a good feeling about Saturday. But it's embarrassing to see fans react that way because I want to defend these fans and support what they believe in, but it's so hard sometimes because of the way they act.
The one thing I don't like is every time after Kentucky loses, I see people calling for Calipari to be fired after like these games, which is just ridiculous. It's insane to me.
Yeah.
I think that like there's a difference between being diehard and then just being
a lunatic.
being like a mob mentality. And I feel like there's almost like this mob mentality a lot of times. And this isn't just calling out Kentucky fans. I'm not trying to be biased here. It's with a lot of different fan bases. But I think Kentucky fans definitely have a history of it with like John Higgins and referees that have kind of done you dirty. Teddy Valentine. There's been a lot of situations where fans just kind of freak out. And I think that like you can still be a diehard fan and be like reasonably mature and there's just not a great track record there.
Yeah. Oh, well.
So,
but you can't. There's always bad apples. Every fan base has their terrible fans, and that's just sad. But it's not like
as
UK's
loss for
anything.
Kentucky
it's
against
a loss.
LSU.
Not like
it's not the end of the world.
Big matchup coming up this Saturday.
Yeah,
though, against UT.
that's the big game.
All right, Sam. Real quick.
So my real quick. I'm gonna keep this as brief as humanly possible. It's a little bit of intriguing. My third is intriguing today.
Okay.
The Cincinnati Bengals lost on the sweep, are trying to find defensive coordinator. They lost on the sweepstakes for the big names: Dom Capers, Jack Del Rio, and Dennis Allen.
Which is crazy to me.
But the Bengals are expected by the end of the week to hire University of Florida defensive coordinator and former Louisville coach.
Louisville man.
Todd Grantham as defensive coordinator.
I messaged Ty about this one.
I'm intrigued about this, really. I don't know a lot about Todd Grantham.
You would love him.
I didn't watch a lot of Florida or Louisville football. Well, except when they played Kentucky, obviously. But, I'm interested to see this new coaching staff have a guy who has tons of experience in relatively big college programs. And he was relatively good and obviously Louisville was not good last year, but Grantham was with some good Louisville teams. Florida's defense was...
He was with the Sugar Bowl team.
Yes, he was. And Florida's defense was top 10 in the country last year. So I'm just interested to see what Todd Grantham offers the Cincinnati Bengals. It's a very youth-oriented group, a lot of young guys who are really bringing a new dynamic to Cincinnati. So I'm just interested in seeing what Todd Grantham
it'll be
will bring as defensive coordinator.
A whole new regime, but I'm a little concerned and worried as a fan that, you had all postseason, you knew you were going to hire Zach Taylor to line up a defensive coordinator, and now you're struggling to do it. It's a little worrisome. Why can't they get it done? They've tried three times with three different people.
Brown.
I don't know. I really don't think – I think it's a Zach Taylor thing. I think that they either don't want to work with Zach Taylor or Zach Taylor doesn't want to work with them. And I just feel like this is something that should have been kind of set in place.
It should have been handled in
because
December.
You don't see this that often with teams where it's like we hired our coach 2 weeks ago, but here we are, we still can't find a defensive coordinator. That's rare.
I thought for the longest time, the Bengals are just going to get Del Rio. Del Rio turned down the job.
That would have been great.
Del Rio turns down the job. Dennis Allen is going to leave New Orleans. Dom Capers doesn't even come for the interview.
And I was never big on either of those two guys, but I would have really liked Del Rio.
Yeah, Del Rio is a very good defensive coach. So I'm just interested in seeing what the Bengals. Obviously, I'm intrigued by Todd Grantham, and I like what he did at Florida. And I'm the most judgmental, pessimistic Bengals fan in the world, but I actually think there's going to be some interesting times in Cincinnati with some young guns trying to run this team.
We don't know what to expect.
Because we don't know what Zach Taylor, Brian Callahan, and
fresh.
Todd Grantham will bring this team.
I like Grantham, but I'm a little biased. I just have good memories with that guy. And I was heartbroken as a Louisville fan whenever we gave him up and swapped defensive coordinators with Mississippi State for some reason and got Peter Sermon, which was just an awful decision.
And then you had Brian Van Gorder.
Yeah, and he's even worse. So, we just completely dropped the ball on that one. But I thought he did a great job at Louisville, and he did a great job at Florida. So he has a track record. It'll be interesting to see what you guys do there.
Yeah, so let's move on.
Yeah,
What we got next,
We
Matt?
gotta go.
So in the NBA, last Thursday, I believe,
Yep.
was the NBA trade deadline. We talked about it a little bit preview last show, and now that it's actually happened, we can kind of break down. I don't think that there was a lot of really significant moves in the West. I mean, there was a few little things here and there to, building block pieces for teams, but the East had a ton of storylines with this trade deadline, specifically with 3 of the top 4 teams in the East, and we'll break down what the moves were for those 3 teams. So the first thing, this was actually the day before the trade deadline, but I'm still counting it because it was kind of still like last minute. The Philadelphia 76ers landed Tobias Harris, a man that averages 20, and he also shoots over 50% from the field. He's not an all-star, but he's that caliber of a player. He's a really, really solid player. And since they got Tobias, they haven't lost a game, and they're winning convincingly, and he's seamlessly fitting into their team. He doesn't really look like there's a lot of growing pains trying to merge him into the starting 5. Like, it legitimately is working. And so that definitely makes them formidable. Now that they have 5 guys in their starting 5, and all 5 are really quality players.
And they got rid of Markelle.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, they got rid of Markelle Fultz, their number 1 pick from a couple years prior. I think that's kind of just like the end of just a lot of drama and just a lot of hard times. It's hard to give up on Markelle, and I'm not going to do it. I think he still has a lot of time that he could get better, and Orlando is the team that landed him. And so they can kind of afford a project right now because it's not like they're in win now mode. They're really rebuilding. So I think that they have the staff and the effort and the time to kind of work on him, and hopefully he blossoms into the number 1 pick that he was supposed to be. If he does, Orlando got a steal. If he doesn't, you didn't lose a whole lot. You lost a couple picks, but nothing really too high.
Yeah, you swapped Jonathan Simmons, who's had a really subpar
and a couple picks. One of them was the Thunder's anyway.
Yeah, Thunder's second-round pick.
So
Thunder's conditional first-round pick.
Protected,
yeah.
I don't think that they didn't really have to give up a whole lot to get Fultz. And so, it's really, the way I see it, it's just Orlando taking a shot on a young guard who has so much promise but has a really broken game right now and just a really shattered mentality. So, I mean, it's going to take a lot of work with him to try to get him back in basketball shape because he's just a mess right now. But, he still has a lot of career left, and we'll see what happens with Markelle. But as of right now, he's looking like a huge bust. But, I mean, there's still plenty of time for him to come back. And so that was significant. But going back to the other 2 teams, we have Toronto. Already has Kawhi. Already has Kyle Lowry. They already have Pascal Siakam.
Did they add Paul?
Who's good?
Marc Gasol?
Yeah, and they added
had
Marc
Marc
Gasol.
And Jeremy Lin.
Yeah, but that's not.
And
really.
they signed Jeremy Lin. Yeah.
I'm happy for Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm
Lin.
happy
Yeah,
for
he's
Jeremy
playing.
too,
He's
but I
Finally gets
mean,
to play for a contender.
yeah.
Go Jeremy.
But
Lin Sanity.
they gave up Valanciunas, who's been pretty
were the
decent for
days.
them. But he's not that significant. They definitely upgraded at center, and I don't think they had to give up a whole lot. I mean, they gave up a little bit,
Yeah,
but
Jonas Valanciunas.
I think like Mike Scott or someone like that.
C.J. Watson and DeLon Wright.
Yeah.
Or sorry, C.J. Miles.
Yeah, and DeLon Wright, and then I think like a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah, a second
But-
round.
a lot of depth pieces.
Just depth pieces. But they got another star center, like a top 10 center in the league.
Yeah.
Who
I like the Raptors,
definitely
man.
works with their
Yeah,
team.
man, they're a good team. This is a
So
good team.
they're looking really, really good right now. And then also Milwaukee Bucks. The Pelicans may not have dealt Davis, but they did deal another one of their significant players, and that's Nikola Mirotic, the sharpshooter who averages about 16 points a game, shoots over 40% from 3. Really solid player. He's not amazing, but he's definitely good enough to give Giannis a shooting threat, which one of the Bucks' main weaknesses is that they don't really have that many shooters. Now they have a shooter, another forward who can actually, handle the ball and kind of give Giannis some support that makes them even better than they were. So, all 3 of these teams making moves. The Celtics didn't really make anything significant, so they're kind of staying pat. But who do you think is the new favorite in the East?
It's got to be the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, I was going to say the Raptors, and I don't think it's a new favorite. I think they have been the favorite.
See, I think that they probably have the best roster, and so it's easy to say that they're the favorites because of their roster. But I see too much history with Toronto folding
That
in the
history's
playoffs.
gone, man. DeMar is gone.
Kyle
They're
Lowry's
new.
still there.
Yeah, but
Most of their reserves are still there.
It was DeMar DeRozan's.
Yeah,
doing.
It was his. Yeah, he was the one. I think he was the one who carried
yeah,
the
but
most
you still
history with that team.
have the demons, man. Like,
I don't think so.
I think this is a new team. Kawhi and Marc Gasol bring a new mentality to a team. You got a new head coach around there. So yeah, I mean it's.
I think that they're Eastern Conference Finals contenders. Like, I think they'll probably make that. But I'm going with the hot take. I'm saying the Celtics don't even make the ECF. I think that the ECF is going to be the Raptors versus the Sixers. And I don't know. It's going to depend on the seeding, obviously, because if the seeding doesn't work out that way, then obviously it won't happen. But just assuming that the seeding works out, which I don't know how the seeding will work out, but assuming that we're just putting all 4 teams in there and saying play each other, I think that the Sixers right now, they're passing the eye test, and I think that they just match up with teams really well. They have a lot of size. Tobias is a good defender, but so is Jimmy Butler. Joel Embiid was a defensive player of the year contender last year and probably will be again this year. So they have defenders, but they also have J.J. Redick's playing better than he's played last season. He's kind of improving these past couple games.
24 last night.
Jimmy Embiid and Tobias can shoot. They really look complete right now that they got Tobias Harris. I think that they are looking great. Plus, they got some of that drama out of their way with Markelle. No shots at him, but just the fact that he kind of added a lot of confusion and just drama to their franchise. I think the Sixers look like a new team with Tobias, and I think that they honestly, out of all the teams in the East, I think they would have the best shot at beating the Warriors. I don't think that they would. I still think they would lose, but I think they would put up the most competitive series because of the matchups. I think just their size, their physicality, I think that they could make it hard on the Warriors.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough.
Yeah, that's fair.
With the Celtics, for me, I think that the problem with them is they not only have to overcome an opponent in a game, they have to overcome themselves. There's a lot of conflict that goes on there, whether it be because of rumors around whether Kyrie's coming back or whatnot. I just don't think you can feel good about that team, and just because of everything that goes on in that locker room with their chemistry and dynamic together.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting, but the Celtics, yeah, they've really kind of underachieved this year considering what they did last year and the fact that they kind of have everyone back plus having Hayward back. Everyone was like, oh, the Celtics are going to be amazing, but they've had a lot of problems this year, and I don't know how they really flow together right now, but they might figure it out. They definitely are well coached. They definitely have a great starting 5. And they're not going anywhere as far as those players' ability and talent. So we'll just see how they perform.
What's next up for us?
So we're going to do this one pretty quick because we do have some college basketball to talk. But All-Star Weekend's coming up this weekend. I thought it'd be kind of fun to just kind of make some predictions.
Yeah, I like this.
We're not going to analyze them too much just because we don't have time. But I'm going to say who the competitors are or who's like doing them, these challenges and stuff. And we're just going to make a quick call on who we think's going to win. So the first one is the Rising Stars game. This is honestly, in my opinion, maybe not more fun, but just about as fun as the All-Star game.
There's more intrigue
because this is the future. I mean, this is like the young guns who are really talented, really bright, and just all seeing who shows up in this game. And it's played similar to the All-Star game, and there's not a whole lot of defense, but it's a lot of fun. The way they do that one is that they have Team US, which is like just players that are from America, and then Team World, who are players that are from outside of America. It can be any country.
Team World's probably going to win.
Yeah, I'm calling Team World.
I'll give Team
Just
World.
some quick highlighted players. I'm not going to say the full rosters, but Team US led by like Kyle Kuzma, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Lonzo, De'Aaron Fox, John Collins, Bagley. Team World has DeAndre Ayton, Luka Doncic, Ben Simmons, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lauri Markkanen, Josh Okogie, Bogdan Bogdanovic. I mean, they have some solid players as well.
I feel like the U.S. team is more like guard heavy, and the World is like big.
Yeah, and I think World's kind of had their number in the past couple of years. I think a lot of the reasons Team U.S. just plays a lot of iso ball, and I think they don't really play that smart in this game. And I think World normally seems a little bit more disciplined. I don't really know why it is like that, but I just feel like in the past, Team World's kind of just they seem like they're taking it more seriously than Team U.S. is. I think the talent level's similar on the teams. I just think Team World plays more smart basketball, and I think they'll probably win.
That'll be a fun one. Skills challenge? Who we got in that?
So the skills challenge is going to be real fun. So the way they do skills challenge, they normally do like 4 guards, and they normally do like 4 forwards or big men. And so this year, the guards are Mike Conley, Luka Doncic, De'Aaron Fox, and Trae Young. The four bigs. Well, this doesn't necessarily mean centers.
Now,
but
do the bigs
four,
compete against the guards in this?
The bigs compete against the bigs. The guards compete against the guards, and then the winners of each play each other.
Okay, right.
And the four people that are labeled as bigs at least are Nikola Jokic, Kyle Kuzma, Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum's a big?
Big?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
They're listing him as one. I mean, he's like 6'9".
Yeah, I know he's huge.
And then Nikola Vucevic.
Yeah, I heard Vooch was in it.
So you got the two Nikolas, both really skilled big men. And then, Kuzma and Jason Tatum are just kind of like small forward players. But they're listed as bigs just because they're forwards. So who you got winning this? I know my pick, but you guys can go first.
Can you say the guards again?
Conley, Doncic, Trae Young, and De'Aaron Fox.
Okay. Well, go ahead. Somebody else go first.
Okay, from the guards, I'll take De'Aaron Fox. From the forwards or from the bigs, I'll take Vooch. And then in the final, I'm going to have Vooch edging out Fox.
Interesting. For
Go ahead,
me,
go ahead.
I'm going to go. I think that the finals of the guards will be De'Aaron versus Luka. I think what will plague De'Aaron is the fact that you have to hit a three. And it's not that De'Aaron can't shoot, but I trust Luka to make a three, if they're similar in the race. I think he'll make a three first just because De'Aaron's not a great shooter. I think Luka gets out of the guards category. I think he's a complete guard, can pass, do it all. And so I think he'll make it out of the guards. And I'm going to take Jokic out of the forwards. I think he's probably the most complete out of those four. And I'm going to take Luka in the finals. I think he's kind of has a little bit more speed. I'm going to take Luka Doncic, the rookie, to win Skills Challenge.
All right. I like Jokic out of the forwards as well. And I'm actually going to pick him to win the whole thing. I would like the matchup of – I think Luka's going to make it out of the guard. So I was saying Luka, Jokic as well, but I'm going to go Jokic.
Okay.
I hate that I had to be so similar to you first.
All right, so that's going to be a fun one. I like all 8 of those players, and it's always fun. It goes by pretty quick, but it's always fun.
But the dunk contest.
Just 4 guys. They normally keep that a lot smaller just for time constraints and stuff. You got Donovan Mitchell's not going to defend his crown this year.
Man.
What?
Yeah, he's more focused on they're right now in the thick of they're at the 7-8 seed kind of mark, and
Yeah, they're 7th seed in
he's
the West
worried
right
about
now,
staying healthy.
I'm glad we asked about that, Sam. I was concerned if he was in it or not.
Oh, so that was all sarcasm? I thought you legitimately didn't know. Gosh dang it. All right, so the 4 guys are Dennis Smith Jr., Hamidou Diallo, former Kentucky guy.
Hami.
John Collins.
Ooh.
JC, man, I got some
Hawk
split
guy.
ties here.
And then Miles Bridges. Another really electrifying
Wow,
dunker.
this should be a good one.
Villanova man right there.
Yeah. Miles Bridges played for – you're thinking of McCall Bridges. Miles played for Michigan State.
Scratch that.
He's an Izzo guy.
Yeah, Mikal Bridges.
Yeah.
Here's my
All
pick.
right,
I'm going first this time,
Scratch that.
so I can't be accused of copying. I think that Dennis Smith is going to come in with the biggest name, but he's going to disappoint. I think Hami's going to win.
Hot take.
I was
He
going
can
to
dunk.
pick Hami too, but you know what? I'll stick with my guns. You can accuse me of being a fraud here, but I'm going to take Hami too.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. But it's not that he can't win, but I think I'm gonna say that it comes down to DSJ, Dennis Smith Jr. and Miles Bridges. I've seen this dude dunk, and he dunks with a lot of power, and I think he'll have the creativity. He seems like the type of mentality, type of player that's actually gonna really prepare for this and be creative. I think it's gonna come down to him and DSJ. And I think Dennis Smith may probably be the best dunker of the 4 in my opinion, but I think he gets upset. I think Miles Bridges pulls this thing out. I like his style.
Who was the other guy?
John Collins.
John Collins.
He's just a power dunker, honestly. I just don't think he has the
You don't
speed
get points
and the
for breaking the
athleticism.
rim in this.
Yeah, he'll probably dunk it hard, but I just don't know if he can do like the 360s and the spins and the really athletic type things.
Well, Dwight Howard won it.
Well, yeah, Dwight Howard.
Yeah,
Because
but I mean,
he
unless
grabbed
John
the
Collins
dime off the top of the
yeah,
backboard.
unless John Collins comes out and freaking dunks on like a 12-foot goal or something, I just
Man,
don't.
the dunk
I don't
contest
see
used to
it.
be so fun back in the day. Whenever we'd probably been in like middle school back whenever Dwight Howard would put on the Superman cape every year and do that. Do you guys remember how much fun that
Yeah,
was?
it was a lot of
Remember
fun.
when there was a little
It'll never be
5 foot?
the
There was
same
a
as that.
5'6" guy named Nate Robinson who used to.
Of course, yeah.
And he dunked.
He wore the
kryptonite
kryptonite,
suit,
yeah.
the Lex Luthor kryptonite suit, and dunked cleared Dwight Howard. He's 5'6". Dwight Howard 7 foot.
They just had so much
cleared
more
him.
creativity
It was,
back
it,
then.
it was
Maybe it was because
awesome.
we were younger, but man, it feels like it's never going to
The NBA felt a bit more magical when I was in
Yeah.
fourth, fifth grade when that happened.
Don't get me
yeah.
wrong, they still do impressive things. There's no doubt about that, but I think it's more centered just on being athletic and making cool-looking dunks and actually having like creativity and set pieces. The best dunk contest I've seen in the modern era was that one that Aaron Gordon got snubbed on, the Zach LaVine,
that was
Aaron Gordon.
fun.
That dunk contest was brilliant, but we're going to move on to the three-point shootout. We already said this last week. Let's just say our picks again, but I'm not going to read them all off. You went with Joe Harris, right, from the Nets?
Joe Harris.
Yeah.
I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
I went with Seth Curry.
You went with Seth Curry, yeah.
Seth Curry.
And then I went with Steph Curry. So I'm not going to read them all over again. We talked about this
There's
last
a mess
week.
of those guys in there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys that could win. I'm just going to bank on Steph because he's just consistently good. And then so now the All-Star game. I'm not going to read the full reserves. These are the guys they picked as the starters. So LeBron picked KD, first pick. Giannis went with Steph as his first pick. Then LeBron went Kyrie. And then Giannis went with Joel Embiid with his next pick. And then
Didn't I say Joel Embiid was going to be something in the All-Star game? Didn't I say, like, who would I take with my first pick?
yeah, you said you take him with
Yeah,
your
you
first
said you
pick.
took him.
Man, I wasn't too far off, was I?
Yeah.
For getting ridiculed like I did. Huh?
Then then LeBron went Kawhi. Then Giannis responded with PG, Paul George.
Yeah,
And then
he's
the
on
last
fire.
guys came down to James Harden and Kemba Walker, and LeBron took James Harden. Kemba went last. I think that was kind of expected. Not that he's bad by any means. He's averaging 25, almost 6 assists. He's great, but like he just seems like the worst of the 10. But what blew my mind is that James Harden went next to last when he's put up 30 straight 30-point games or more. I just don't think this dude's respected. And
I don't know if that's it. I think he's respected.
well, I don't know.
I just think
He gets a lot of hate.
mean,
Not necessarily about players, but just by like the
everyone-
media and also
everyone's good in the All-Star game. Maybe
fans.
you're picking guys you really want to play with. Like you're picking your friends or something, and maybe he's just not that tight with them.
yeah, maybe he seems kind of like a little bit of an outsider, maybe like a lone wolf. I don't know if he's really in the clique with like LeBron and Curry and or LeBron, Wade, Carmelo, that friend group. I just don't think.
Carmelo.
Yeah,
How's he getting to the All-Star game? Is he buying a ticket or something?
He might buy a ticket to the arena, but yeah. So it's gonna be a fun game. I think my personal opinion, I think LeBron drafted better.
Yeah, I would say the same thing.
one-
I think most people would say the same.
One of the main things Giannis did wrong, which I can't really blame him for this, loyalty over everything. I respect this by Giannis, but he had the first pick in the reserves, and you have Anthony Davis on the board, or Damian Lillard, or there's a lot of guys that you could have picked that are like high touted reserves, and he goes with Chris Middleton, who probably should have
That's
been.
his boy. That's what you.
Yeah,
love
no,
to see,
I
though.
love the loyalty. I'm not blaming him for it. I completely understand it, but I'm just saying he missed an opportunity because you had the chance to take one of those studs, and Chris Middleton honestly probably is one of the worst of the reserves.
Blood is thicker than water.
So,
and Giannis is all about that. I think that I didn't even know he did that. That's awesome that he took his boy.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just think it definitely hurts his team, and so I think LeBron has the better team.
Well, at least he has a clear conscience.
Yeah.
He took his man.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
But I think LeBron had the better team last year, and Team Curry still took it to the last shot. So I mean, when all these guys are just kind of goofing around, it could still go either way.
Who's your MVP?
I'm gonna go with KD. Because I think Team LeBron's gonna win. They're not gonna give the MVP to a guy on the losing team.
Yeah, that's right.
Out of those 5, I think KD.
They shouldn't. I'm going to take the contrarian view. I'm going to say, oh boy, the winner of this game is going to be Team LeBron, but I do think James Harden walks away with the MVP after putting up 30 and leading the field in scoring.
I'm gonna go with Giannis and Embiid MVP.
He loves Embiid.
I gotta stick
All
with
right.
it. I made the claim.
We gotta move on.
Time to break down.
We have 10 minutes.
Let's talk some college
College
basketball.
Yeah, college basketball. So every week, our new form of kind of like the NFL predictions is now we're just gonna break down 3 teams. Come March Madness, we're gonna try to analyze the top 3 or the top teams in the nation and see if they're worth filling out on your bracket, going far or not. What we think about them. So this week we're gonna go with Gonzaga, Kentucky, Michigan.
And let me just say this real quick. Matthew always makes our little rundown for what we're going to talk about. He always puts a lot of effort into it. Does a great job. Let me just tell you how he did these teams. So we have Gonzaga. We got probably a good 10 bullet points there for notes on them. Michigan, we probably got 7 on them. He's got 2 on Kentucky. He's got 2. His distaste is so strong. He doesn't even bother to look up the stats.
No, this is the thing. I looked up their stats. Look at my computer right now, Ty. You see that tab right there? It says Kentucky Wildcats
I should not
stats.
doubt it. I should not
Don't
doubt
doubt me. I'm going to go over their stats, but I just thought that it would be a respectful thing for a co-host to do to let the 2 Kentucky fans talk about their team. You know what I mean? I don't want to spend the whole airtime talking about a team I hate. I'm going to let you guys carry that one.
Fair enough.
Share the wealth.
That's
fair enough.
I'm just sharing the wealth.
All right, so let's break down Gonzaga here.
All right.
I guess I'll kick it off. For Gonzaga, this is going to sound maybe just not really analytical, but I really, really like the way Rui Hachimura plays for this team.
This dude's a stud.
This guy is a freakish athlete, man. He can run the floor. He can shoot. He's a decent post player. He's tall. He's a relatively good rebound. He does it all for these guys. He really does.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic.
He's the Swiss Army knife for Gonzaga this year.
And he's mobile. Yeah, he's big, but he almost plays like a guard.
Yeah, because he can knock down. He's a great mid-range shooter. He can hit the 3 if he wants to. He can run the floor like a guard. He can run the point. He also is a good rebounder. He's everything Gonzaga needs.
Fun fact about Hachimura is he kind of has an Anthony Davis type story in the fact that he had like a massive growth spurt, all in like a matter of a year. So he was actually a guard for most of his high school career. So that's why he plays like a guard in the fact that that's what he's used to playing. Like he had to get his ball handling and everything like that down pat before, and then all of a sudden he grows. Now he's a center, but he still has those instincts to play.
Eight and a half inches his junior year in high school.
So yeah, he got big, but he wasn't always like that, and so he plays like a guard. And I really like this dude's game.
He has good handles for a guy who's like 6'10".
I think he's a lottery pick.
He can handle it for a guy that's 6'10", man.
Yeah. What do you think about him, Ty?
Well, aside from him, I think that they're a solid team overall. Obviously, looking at some of these stats, they lead the league in scoring, average 91.5 points.
Yeah, I had no idea that was actually
that's
a thing.
lot. That's a lot. Shoots
That's a lot.
53% from the floor, which is also first.
Yeah, that's insane.
3rd in assists, 4th in blocks, 3rd in defensive boards, 5th in free throws made. So, I mean, you see that, and a big gripe against Gonzaga is like, they never play anybody. You know, they have an easy
that's
route.
false this
That's
year.
false. They beat Duke and Maui on Thanksgiving.
They did beat Duke, and
They played Tennessee. They lost that one.
Lost, yeah, Tennessee.
But
beat
they gave
them.
him a tough
that's
game.
A big win for
They played
Tennessee.
UNC. They lost that one too.
So I mean, they are kind of
but they played them tough.
battle tested.
I respect what they did with their non-conference schedule.
Yeah, I think they made a good decision to schedule things like that. But I don't know, man. I mean, we're talking about title contenders. Like they're going to be a 1 seed. I don't see any situation where they're not. But I don't think so. Not for me. Not a title contender for me.
So now help me out. What conference are they? Are they in the WAC or the Mountain West?
I think it's the WAC. Yeah, it's the Western Atlantic.
The Western Athletic Conference?
Yeah, or Athletic, yes. They're in the
Something
West.
like that. I don't know.
The second best team in that conference is St. Mary's, and they're not good.
Yeah.
And so, I think they have 9 losses. So, yeah, their conference is really, really weak. But, I'm going to disagree with you, Ty. I think that Gonzaga was a team back when they had, Olynyk and stuff that I would never pick to go far because I always thought that they were just one of those teams that always impresses, kind of like Virginia, and then they just choke.
Wichita State.
Yeah, but, yeah, Wichita State didn't the year that they broke out, but since then,
they were undefeated until they lost to Kentucky in the second round.
Yeah.
But I think that the year with Nigel Goss or Williams Goss or whatever, the year where they made it to the championship and lost that heartbreaker to UNC, I think that kind of broke their curse. It almost felt like with me. I feel like ever since, even when they lost last year, they were really formidable in the tournament. I just think that whole expectation with Gonzaga no longer exists. I think that they actually will show up in the tournament. I think that, Rui's the real deal. Brandon Clark, this dude averages 17 but shoots 68% from the floor.
You said Rui Clark.
I said Rui's great, but then Brandon Clark.
He's
68% from the floor. The dude,
he's a dead
he's
eye,
great.
Man.
And then Zach Norvell, good shooter. I think that this team's complete,
I
man.
know what you're saying. I'm going with the gut feeling of.
I think they're a Final Four team for sure. They don't really have a weakness. I was looking at their stats this year. They don't really do anything wrong. I mean, I didn't have a weakness. I said they're fairly weak bench production, but that's about it. I mean,
it's so hard to call somebody a title contender because anyone's really a title contender once you make the tournament.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's 68 teams. They all have an equal shot.
And we all it all depends on what situation the committee puts you in as far as seeding and who all's in your region. Gonzaga's a good team, but for me, I just got a feeling like it's not their year.
All right, well, fair enough. Sam, do you think they're a title contender?
I think that's the only two teams I'm willing to say are title contenders at this point are Duke and Tennessee.
All right.
But Gonzaga they are a threat that Duke and Tennessee should be. I don't think Duke. I mean, Tennessee beat them, but I don't really think Tennessee wants to play them again.
No, because they barely beat them, and it was a tough game. And Gonzaga, definitely looked formidable in those type of games. Like they may have lost to Tennessee and UNC, but they didn't do it like convincingly. They look like they can compete at that stage, and on a neutral court, it could be a different story. And so, yeah, I like them. I think might be being a little generous, but I think that they're definitely formidable and worth marking on your brackets for sure. Depends on who the matchups are, obviously. If they have a tough 2 seed in their region, they could get knocked off. But let's get to those 2 seeds, the teams that are looking.
Those are all the 1 seeds. Now we're going to get into the 2 seeds, which Kentucky is looking like they're going to be the top 2 seed if things kind of play out the way that they're expected to the rest of the season. And I think that's a comfortable spot for them to be in.
I think a 2 seed is a lot better than what people were actually expecting from this team.
Yeah, I do too.
They had a lot of expectations. Then they didn't. They had a really rough non-conference run, and people are like, but yeah, if this team gets to be a 2 seed, I think that they can make some noise. Obviously, I mean it's Kentucky.
No matter what seed they are, they can make noise, and these Kentucky teams do tend to come together really well towards the end of the season.
Cal's a really good coach in February. He is. I have never seen. Well, you know what? This is better. I think he is, in my opinion, the best guy at getting teams to play well in conference tournaments. Because Kentucky usually always wins this thing.
SEC. But what they got going on right now is P.J. Washington, man. That guy's numbers have been outstanding the past month.
Yeah, he's had, I think, 6 out of the last 7 games,
above
20 points.
Yeah, and their offense really flows through him every time. The guards on the wing are trying to get the ball down low to PJ. And whenever he's out of the game, you can kind of tell it from their offense. They don't have that back to the basket, can take the ball and do whatever he wants with it guy down low. I mean, they have Nick Richards, E.J. Montgomery, and Reed Travis, but none of those guys can command the ball on offense like PJ can. So whenever they've been playing really well during this last stretch, and I know they lost last night, but it's been because of P.J. Washington and his effectiveness on offense. So if they're going to continue that, I think they're really just going to have to keep that trend up. And they got away from it a little bit last night because of foul trouble.
Well, because Washington fouled out. So yeah, I mean,
and that may have contributed to LSU coming back and the offense being slow. But for the key is going to be him and the other. We're going to need another big to.
Reed Travis
at least be formidable.
He needs to step up.
Reed Travis is what he is. He's a physical specimen. He plays hard and he scraps, gets rebounds, he dunks hard, but he's not a back to the basket player. I think he hits hits the rim with every other post move he does, which is it's not good. So we know what he is, and we can't expect him to be something he's not. That's why whenever he's in the game with PJ, the offense works really well. Because we have a nice complement there.
Well, because PJ can post up back to the basket, and Travis can catch it right in the block down there and go up for an easy dunk. I mean,
yeah, and it also comes down to just taking care of the ball.
Yeah,
whenever they get sloppy and turn it over, obviously it's hard for any team to do that. But whenever Hagen's turns the ball over more than he gets steals or something like that, which may happen more often than not, but whenever it's a vast difference there, the team is really hurting. It goes with him.
He mentally kind of, when he turns the ball over, you can see it kind of, it mentally, he kind of starts to shut down when he's turning the ball over. And so, I mean, you can't blame him. But at the same time, he has to kind of get a bit more fortitude and just play through it. Obviously, the big question is what kind of night is Tyler Harrow having? Is he knocking down threes, or is it last night where he's 2 for 11 from 3? Keldon Johnson,
but he still hit big shots down the stretch to put him in a position to compete.
He did.
The big question: are they title contenders? I believe this year, more than any of the recent years, Kentucky's a title contender because, The year they won the championship back in 2012, they had senior presence in Darius Miller. They have a senior presence this year in Reed Travis, which is big. A guy who can lead the younger guys, who's been on a big stage like this before. They have P.J. Washington. They have the players who bring this experience that I think they've lacked in previous years. So certainly it's very hard to say, yes, I think they're going to make it to the national championship. I think this team has a better potential than many of the recent years to make it to the national championship.
I will agree with that. This is, when you look at all the things you want in a team that's going to make a big run in March, Kentucky has all these pieces. They have a back to the basket guy. They have a hustle guy. They have a great perimeter defender. They have a guy who, when he's on, is a dead-eye shooter. Keldon Johnson can be a swingman, a slasher, or a knockdown guy if he wants to. It just comes down to bench production, mental toughness, and protecting the ball and just hitting shots.
All right, Matt, give us your opinion.
I put on the Google Doc.
To be determined.
I put TBD because I feel like that's how pretty much all Cal teams are. I think outside of like the Carl Towns year, pretty much every year with Kentucky is really just like, let's see how they're playing in conference tournaments and stuff, because I think Cal kind of gets this team on another level come tournament time. So I can't really say right now. I mean, they're so inconsistent. One game they'll look like amazing, and then the next game they look kind of very beatable. So I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen consistency out of them, but the promise is definitely there. So
I think
put
they were
TBD.
consistent the past 10 games they won.
Yeah,
they had some rough patches in each game, but I think they were things. A, you won a game, and B, you can take away why we won.
So yeah, I mean they definitely have the pieces. I agree with you guys 100% that this is a year where it's definitely possible, but I'm just not going to call it this early. I haven't seen enough yet to like say 100%. Yeah, they're definitely title contenders, but I'm not going to say they're not. I think really it's just I'm gonna let it play out a few more games and see who they are for the rest of the season. So I don't know.
One thing about Kentucky
that one's up in the air.
When Kentucky gets into the tournament, there's always going to be. I mean, Kentucky's one of those teams that's always going to be making noise. They're going to be.
Yeah.
But
we'll see.
We'll see.
They're a complete wild card for me. I have no idea. I really haven't watched them a whole lot this season, to be honest. But from what I've seen, I've been impressed. They looked great against Louisville. So we're gonna go move on to Michigan. Another team I haven't really watched a whole lot, but their stats.
I've only seen them once this year.
Their stats kind of wowed me, honestly, because offensively this team is sluggish. Like they don't really do anything in like the top 100 teams in the nation. Really, offensively, it's like field goals 124th in the nation, field goals attempted 149th in the nation, points scored a game 240th in the nation. Like offensively, they're like just snail pace. They don't really do that much well. Their leading scorer only averages 14.5. They don't have a guy, really scoring that much a game. They don't really have like a go-to guy like they did last year with Mo Wagner. So it begs the question, what makes Michigan good? Well, I'll get to that. Similar to Virginia, they're low scoring, but defensively, wow, I didn't know they were this good defensively. They're fantastic. They're holding their opponents to 58 points a game. That's third in the nation. Their opponents aren't even making 5 threes a game on them. They don't allow the three, which is a big X factor going into tournament games. Is you don't want a team to be blasting threes on you. Their opponents don't get to the free throw line that much. They're barely making over 8 free throws a game, and they're only shooting 13 a game. So they don't foul. They're second in steals, and they hold their opponents to under 40% shooting for the season. So this team is a team that doesn't win pretty. They don't win scoring 90. They're only averaging 70 points a game this season. So they don't score, they don't win pretty, but they win because they're defensively stout and they're well coached and they're experienced. So do you think
they play together really well as a team, and that's important come March. They did have a bad loss last night.
Yeah.
So
they lost to Kansas State, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't Kansas State. It was Penn State.
Penn State. Yeah, I knew it was a state.
It was double-digit loss.
Yeah.
It was on the road, but still,
Penn State's the worst team in the Big Ten by far.
They're not a good team. So
yeah, that's a bad loss.
I don't think I'm ready to say Michigan's a title contender.
No.
I mean, they've shown a lot, but I think they got to show me a little bit more before I can say that.
I'm not at all confident to say that they're a title contender or even a team that's going to be in the Final Four. I don't trust them on offense. They've lost a couple games now to, I think, Wisconsin,
Penn
Wh-
State. I think
Penn
they almost lost to
They
Minnesota.
almost lost
What's
to Minnesota.
What's a quality win for Michigan? Who have they beaten this year?
They beat North Carolina by 20.
And they also smacked Villanova.
Yeah, they absolutely.
Okay, so
just,
Villanova's ranked like 14th.
they're
Yeah.
14. They beat North Carolina when North Carolina was ranked in the top 5,
Okay.
and
So,
they beat them by
I mean,
like 21.
That's a couple quality wins, I guess. But
Their second game of the year, they beat North Carolina by 21.
I feel like they got some more bad losses than quality wins, though.
Yeah,
I
Penn
haven't-
State's a terrible loss to have on that record.
Yeah, I'm not the expert on Michigan, so once again, I might not be the guy that should be saying this. To me, it's a complete toss-up. It's hard to see who gets hot, but when it comes to a team I haven't seen much, the thing that really makes me a fan of them or not when it comes to the tourney, filling out my bracket, if I haven't seen a whole lot of film, a lot of times I go by history. I think, does this team have a history of winning in the tournament? Do they have guys that are used to tournament success? Michigan does. They made the championship last year, made the championship back in 2013. They're almost always in the Sweet 16 or Elite 8, no matter how good their roster is. And Beeline's a great tourney coach, and I think they have a history of winning when come March. So when it comes to a team I haven't seen much, that's really what I'm relying on when it comes to picking them or not. I'm not picking them to win it. I'm not picking them to go to the championship. But am I going to say they're a contender to maybe make the Elite 8, maybe make the Final Four, be formidable and be dangerous? Yes, I'll go with yes, just because I think their history shows that they should. And so that's really what I'm picking them on. I haven't seen enough film to say I love them or I hate them, but, their history says that I should pick them, so I'm going to. So that's all we got. We went over this tonight.
Yeah,
so
we did. This is by far our
to,
longest broadcast.
to our bosses at WACW, we're sorry. We didn't mean to. There was just too much to talk about. Our pacing was a little bit off, and I was not going to cut off our college basketball talk just because of timing.
That was our best segment we did. That was great.
That was fun. And so I wasn't going to cut it off. But we are a little late, and that's okay. But this is the Bullpen on WACW. We appreciate you guys for listening, and stick with us in the future. And we would love to keep talking sports every single week to an audience. Thank you guys so much, and keep rolling with us. I'm Matt.
I'm Ty.
I'm Sam.
We are out. See you guys later. Have a good week.
See ya.